This fourth part for chapter 28 is really a summary, and I invite you to read those sections. We're just looking at your neurotransmitter, where those are chemical messenger of the nervous system. So they are released by nerve cells, the neurons, and they transmit signal to target cells that are very close by. They can be another nerve cell, they can be a muscle cell, or they can also be endocrine cells. So this is here the structure of a neuron. You see the dendrites, which are the receptor for all the information we get, the cell body with the nucleus on the left, and then the axon. And then you're going to have at the end a close-up of what we call here the synapse. So on the very left side at the bottom, you have the presynaptic neuron. On the right side, the postsynaptic neuron. And in between, that's what we call here the synaptic cleft. That's what they call here the synapse. So pretty much what happened, you have electric signal that is transmitted along the axon, and then you're going to have a synaptic vesicle that carry neurotransmitter, where those vesicles can fuse with the membrane of the presynaptic neuron, releasing neurotransmitter that needs to bind onto receptor sites on the postsynaptic neuron. This is just really a summary of things, how things work. Example right here, acetylcholine, neurotransmitter responsible for control of skeletal muscles. And this is pretty complex, but what I would just want you to realize is that you have a signal that is going to help assemble an efficient and effective acetylcholine that will be included into a synaptic vesicle that can fuse with the membrane of that synapse and be released. And you have here an acetylcholine receptor on the cell membrane of the postsynaptic neuron. Now, right after the signal is transmitted, you see that there is an enzyme, acetylcholinesterase, that's going to break down that acetylcholine, breaking it down into acetate and choline that then can be recycled and start another cycle. Looking at drugs and acetylcholine, well, many drugs, and definition of drugs is a substance that alters body function when it's introduced from an external source. Many drugs act as acetylcholine synapses. The action is at the molecular level, and it can be either therapeutic or poisonous. Things you do need to know. So I'll let you read more about acetylcholine. But things you do need to know is the classification of those drugs as agonist or antagonist. Agonists are substances that interact with the receptor to cause or prolong the receptor's normal biochemical response. And an antagonist is a substance that blocks or inhibits the normal biochemical response of that receptor. Some example right here, well, nicotine found in cigarette, and at low dose it's a stimulant. So that's an agonist because it activates acetylcholine receptors. That's what gives the people sense of alertness, well-being, and at high dose, nicotine is actually an antagonist. Another group that is important is understanding histamine and antihistamine. Well, histamine is the neurotransmitter that is responsible for all the symptoms of allergic reaction. So when you take antihistamine, those are drugs that counteract the effect of histamine because they are histamine receptor antagonists. And finally, just a couple of words about serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. Those are monoamine, and they all are active in the brain and have been identified to have a function with the way we feel, so that means the mood, experiences of fear or pleasure, mental illness, as well as drug addiction. And I definitely would like you to read that entire section.